October 7th, which we just learned yesterday, is going to be the date of this year's Hoosier Hysteria. So love seeing that get flushed out early so that everybody can plan and prepare. And I'm a big fan of the pairing with homecoming weekend. Just giving IU fans a ton to celebrate what's traditionally a gorgeous weather weekend in town. Leaves starting to turn, weather still temperate. Should be a great time that weekend. Which again, Saturday I'll be heading out. I don't get to watch the football game against Michigan. I'm heading on vacation, but I'm glad they at least put Hysteria in a date that's going to work for me this year.
Well, not only that, it is a pretty cool thing to have it the night before. It's not just a football game, but a big time football game. Michigan will be coming into town, but obviously that's going to be a big crowd, but that should just be a really big weekend. It gives the people that are coming in to tailgate overnight opportunity to be there. So it really is a smart thing by Indiana to combine these two things.
Yeah. And, get the students fired up. That's going to be, I think, a huge component for Tom Allen and the Hoosiers this year is trying to maintain that fan support. And I've said for decades now, it starts with the students. There's not a successful program in the nation that doesn't have a robust student section and support from that demographic. And it's something Indiana struggled with in years past. I thought they made some pretty great strides this year. Obviously, after the disappointing season for football team, it's going to be really tough to keep that level up. But I think this is a great way to get the excitement up in town, particularly before a key matchup in the Big Ten East. Indiana doesn't get a lot of opportunities to knock off Big Blue or Ohio State. Obviously, they play every year, but from a competitive standpoint, Michigan's resurgent, and this may be one of the better chances Indiana has at them in the coming years based off their current trajectory and the talent they're bringing in. To leverage the home football crowd here in Bloomington. But if you can get them extra juiced up coming fresh off the heels of Hysteria, I think that just sets up perfectly for that noon kickoff for what's a big game for Indiana. Nobody told the TV schedulers that, I guess.
I know this is crazy, Kevin, but just the craziness of thinking what happens if Indiana were to knock off and upset Michigan the day after Hoosier Hysteria. That would become an instant permanent thing from now to the end of time if that were to happen.
Yeah, that would be something. And you think about 2020, though, the last time they came here, certainly in the COVID year, Indiana won that game. They beat them 38-21. So there's always hope. I mean, it's possible. Is it probable? Probably not, but you never know. But I think it'll be kind of crazy if you're thinking Hoosier Hysteria being a night event this year. People are going to go out afterwards, and then you've got a noon kickoff, and I mean, people are going to start tailgating at 7 a.m. I mean, is there going to be enough, alcohol to go around, or is there going to be enough food to go around? For that.
No such thing as enough, baby. No such thing as enough.
It's going to be, it's going to be like Party Central all weekend, I think, for Indiana fans, for people coming down here.
And Chronic, that's the thing. Indiana needs, and the football needs that boost of excitement. I think that would be a great boost for them, and they're going to need that. Like I said, what happens if they go out and win that game? I'm like, that would be instantly like, okay, this is from now on. This is how this is going to happen.
Yeah, it's one of those things, it's almost a generational touchstone to be alive when Indiana knocks off an Ohio State or a Michigan or Penn State for that matter, because quite frankly, they are far and few between those moments. So obviously they've played them tight several times in recent history, come up short far more often than not. But you know what? If Tom Allen is truly going to demonstrate that he's turned this thing around, you've got to have some of those wins. You just absolutely have to snipe some of those that you're not projected to, and you got to pull some upsets off. We saw what that did for the team following the Penn State win. At this particular juncture in time, though, I don't think you can overstate just how massive that would be for the program. Again, like Kevin said, probable, not really. Possible, absolutely. And one thing we've seen is a rowdy, full home crowd can certainly help change the team's fortunes. So anything that helps. I will say though, for the record, Kevin, I've lived here for the better part of my life. To my knowledge, this town has not, nor will it likely ever run out of alcohol. I assure you of that. We just make too much of it here locally on our own. We're self-sufficient, even though we do like to import quite a bit as well. I assure you that will not happen, at least not under my watch. And if so, that's probably the day I enter politics and make sure that never happens again.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not going to be a problem. It's although it's a dry campus, it is the wettest dry campus in the world.
And we almost have to drop that anymore. I mean, they're selling beer at Memorial now. I mean,
that's right. You know what? That's true. I didn't even think about that. It's like what you can't even call it a dry campus anymore.
And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised in the coming months, maybe years, that you don't see some movement where Indiana gets a little bit more progressive in those regards, simply because we've kind of we've dispelled that myth about the dry campus. They have embraced alcohol sales, at least partially, at certain events. Even though that's been happening in the private rooms for years now, it is available for sale to the general public. But I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see some things down the road, especially with NIL. There's so much advertising dollars in that particular arena. If Indiana doesn't make some movement along those lines and just open up revenue streams that other teams in the Big Ten, for that matter, are currently cashing in on, they would be foolish not to.
Yeah, I think too, Chronic. Like that's, and now that we have football and we have baseball as a test, I'm just wondering if or when it will ever come to Assembly Hall. And certainly there's, I know it's a cramped place. I know passions are tremendously high for basketball, but I think the boon that you could have, I mean, if it's done responsibly and you could, that would really be something, and that would really be another revenue maker if they ever got to that point.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I can't, with how many home games are you looking at a season? 20 times 17,000. I mean, come on, just do the math. It's just a numbers game, man. And we know that they are losing money in other ways now, with whether it's NIL money that may be going to a player that's not going to the school, or they've got to come up with ways to make money in other facets. And I'm surprised that they haven't already done it at Assembly Hall, to be honest with you, now that they've done it at Bart Kaufman and they've done it at Memorial, and alcohol is already available, like you said, inside of Assembly Hall in multiple places privately. It's just, I think it's time. But then you've got to you've got to add all that stuff in, Chronic, the space, kegs and taps and all that stuff. I'm sure that they'll figure it out, but there's lots to do.
No, and I understand some of the apprehension originally. Obviously Assembly Hall is one of the more passionate facilities in town, or at least the occupants tend to be a little more passionate. But I think as another year goes by and you see, incident counts, alcohol related incidents at Memorial Stadium, posting multiple years of records now, it'll probably allay some of those fears that perhaps some people have, some contrarians have used to maybe slow walk this process. But, at the end of the day, as much as beer can improve the fan experience, there's nothing going to be better for keeping fans happy than winning games. That's what matters most at this point. Post some W's and we'll figure out a way to get our beer one way or another.
What about you get to play Xavier in the Gavitt games? Sean Miller, kind of a cool, unique, ironic matchup there for Indiana.
Yeah, I missed that one. About a month ago, we talked about the non-conference, and I'd said North Carolina and Villanova after the Arizona games. I thought that was going to be it. So,
me too.
The nice thing about the Xavier matchup, well, it may not be the very best of the conference, it's certainly going to be a stout challenge, and it's a road game, but one just across the state line over there in Cincinnati. I think you'll see a tremendous amount of IU fan support in the gym that night. I like it. I really like that matchup. I think from a competitive standpoint, but also just locationally, I think it sets up perfect for Indiana. And maybe, if they don't post the toughest non-conference schedule in the nation, it's still going to keep them very, very high atop that list. There's not going to be much of a drop off, having not selected IU for Villanova, instead sending them over to Cincinnati. But it's going to be a hell of a season, and probably 180-degree reversal from what fans experienced in the non-conference this past year. So the challenge will be stout, but there's a whole lot of reward for Indiana if they can make it through this and get some W's against some top flight competition.